gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the Experience Hockey Talk's first ever exclusive Patreon episode. And as you can tell around me, I'm not at home, I'm not at the WBGR studio. I am here at the Tilted Kilt in Frederick, Maryland. I just finished up watching the Pittsburgh Penguins raise their banner and lose to the St. Louis Blues, and we're going to hop right into it right here, right now, ladies and gentlemen. And for the lineup for the St. Louis Blues, and yes, I am doing this old school style, like the way I would do the podcast before we moved to WBGR, which is a style that I actually really enjoy doing personally myself. So, lineups for the St. Louis Blues, you had Vladimir Sobotko with Paul Stastny and Vladimir Tarasenko, Jaden Shorts with Braden Shen and Dmitry Jaskin, Magnus Pajarvi with Oscar Sundqvist and Tage Thompson, Scotty Upshaw with Kyle Brodziak with Chris Thorburn. On defense, you have Joel Edmondson with Alex Pietrangelo, Carl Gunnarsson with Colton Parayko, Vince Dunn with Robert Pertuzzo, and Jake Allen in the net for the St. Louis Blues. And for the Pittsburgh Penguins, you have Jake Gensel with Sidney Crosby and Connor Sheary, Brian Rust with Evgeny Malkin and Phil Kessel, Carl Hagelin with Greg McKegg and Tom Kuhnhackl, Scott Wilson with Carter Rowney and Ryan Reeves. And on defense, you had Brian Dumoulin with Chris Letang, Oli Mata with Justin Schultz, Matt Hunwick with Ian Cole, and Matt Murray between the pipes. And of course, as you can tell, a lot of different names for both teams. Obviously, Oscar Sundqvist and Ryan Reeves were actually traded for each other at the draft last season. And of course, for the Pittsburgh Penguins, losses on defense, so they filled in a hole with Matt Hunwick. Greg McKegg is now in the third-line center spot where Nick Bonino used to be. Braden Shen, who was traded to the Blues by the Philadelphia Flyers during the draft as well. And, of course, on defense for the St. Louis Blues, it was actually Vince Dunn's NHL debut as well. And, of course, for Pittsburgh, this is also a new era for them, as they now no longer have Marc-Andre Fleury with them, who went to Vegas in the expansion draft. So a very interesting time here for the Pittsburgh Penguins. And right off the bat, we're going to get right to it. In the first period, 50 seconds into the game, Sidney Crosby was called for hooking on Dmitry Jaskin, which then gave the St. Louis Blues an early power play opportunity. But at 6:37, Justin Schultz would score his first of the season from Sidney Crosby and Jake Gensel to get the Pittsburgh Penguins the 1-0 lead. Then at 8:31, Braden Shen would score his first of the season and first as a St. Louis Blue from Carl Gunnarsson and Jaden Shorts to tie it up. Then at 16:26, Oli Mata would be called for tripping. And at 17:45, on that power play, Colton Parayko would score his first of the season, which would go unassisted. Interesting fact, Justin Schultz, Colton Parayko, both on my fantasy hockey team in the TXHT Fantasy Hockey League. So, points there, and of course, I'm going up against Dixon this week, and I'm already destroying him because I also have Austin Matthews on my roster. So, thank you, Austin Matthews. And then, at the end of the first period, it would be St. Louis 2, Pittsburgh 1, shots were 12 apiece, face-offs were 12-16 in favor of Pittsburgh. Hits were 18-9 in favor of St. Louis, and on the power play, St. Louis was 1 for 2, and Pittsburgh did not have one at all. My analysis of the first period for the St. Louis Blues is that I thought the St. Louis Blues played a very good first period, which saw them draw 2 penalties and score 2 timely goals for them to go into the first intermission with a 1-goal lead. As for the Pittsburgh Penguins, they came out a little too aggressive to start, but as the game went on, they settled into their game, but not fully into their game. What the St. Louis Blues needs to do is they need to keep playing their game and continue to create opportunities and draw penalties. The more that they keep creating opportunities, the more they're going to draw penalties because they're going to frustrate the Pittsburgh Penguins. And for the Pittsburgh Penguins, what they need to do is the Penguins, on the other hand, need to settle down more into their game. When they're on their game, they can be dangerous. And as I just mentioned, when the other team is creating opportunities against them and out hitting them, being more physical, it does frustrate the Pittsburgh Penguins and it does take them out of their game. Now, going into the second period, Sidney Crosby once again starts the period off by going to the penalty box at 6:15, 2 minutes for tripping. At 12:37, though, Oli Mata would score his first of the season from Brian Rust and Evgeny Malkin. And then Robert Bertuzzo would get a holding penalty at 12:52 giving Pittsburgh the power play, but it wouldn't last long as Jake Guentzel would get called for slashing at 14:03. But then again, that didn't last much longer either, because at 14:55, St. Louis bench got a too many men on the ice penalty, which was then served by Tage Thompson. Then at 15:37 on 4-on-4 action, Alex Pietrangelo would score his first of the season from Vladimir Sobotka and Paul Stastny. And of course, Alex Pietrangelo, another guy on my fantasy team, beating up on Dixon. Thanks, Alex Pietrangelo. So at the end of the first period, you had the St. Louis Blues 3, Pittsburgh Penguins 2. Shots were 25-21 in favor of the Blues. Face-offs were 30-19 in favor of Pittsburgh. Hits were 27-18 in favor of the St. Louis Blues. And on the power play, St. Louis was 1 for 4, and Pittsburgh was 0 for 2. For the St. Louis Blues, this was an okay period for the Blues. They didn't have some of the same magic as they did in the first period, but they did still have a good period. As for Pittsburgh, this was a better period for the Penguins, but you can see that they are not in full stride just yet. You can see that they're still a bit frustrated in regards to the Pittsburgh Penguins, or in regards to how St. Louis is playing them. In regards to St. Louis, they just need to keep grinding down and frustrating the Penguins. That's just how you're going to get them out of their groove. And as for the Penguins, they need to stay out of the penalty box. So, going into the third period, you had Paul Stastny at 3:38 score his first of the season from Vladimir Sobotka and Vladimir Tarasenko. Then the St. Louis Blues would be going on a penalty spree, as at 5:26, Alex Pietrangelo would be called for slashing. At 12:10, Robert Bertuzzo would be called for tripping. At 12:26, Braden Shen would be called for delay of game for closing his hand on the puck, which then would lead to a power play goal at 13:46 by Sidney Crosby, his first of the season, from Jake Guentzel and Evgeny Malkin. Then at 14:40, Connor Sheary would score his first of the season, assisted by Greg McKegg and Brian Russ, to tie the game for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Now, as a result of that, Penguins tie it. We go to overtime. Going into overtime, we are tied 4-4. Shots are tied at 33 apiece. Face-offs are 40-27 in favor of Pittsburgh. Hits are 36-27 in favor of St. Louis. And on the power play, St. Louis is 1 for 4, and Pittsburgh is 1 for 5. And then in overtime, it took one shot. That's it. And that was at 1 minute, 15 seconds into the overtime, when Alex Pietrangelo would score his second of the game and of the season. I don't have the assist down. I wanted to record and get on out of here. It's 11 o'clock at night here. But ladies and gentlemen, St. Louis is your winner, 5-4 on Pittsburgh's banner-raising night. Shots were 34-33 in favor of the Blues. Face-offs were 28-40 in favor of the Blues, or in Pittsburgh, I mean. Hits were 36-27 in favor of the Blues, and on the power play, 1 for 4 for St. Louis and 1 for 5 from the Pittsburgh Penguins. And ladies and gentlemen, with that, that was the game that I covered here at the Tilted Kilt. Obviously, other games that were going on, you had the Toronto Maple Leafs versus the Winnipeg Jets. That was a 7 o'clock start time in Winnipeg, which saw the Toronto Maple Leafs manhandle the Winnipeg Jets 7-2. It was 7-0 before Winnipeg even got a goal in the net. So that tells you right there about that game. And then, of course, right now, you also have the Philadelphia Flyers versus the San Jose Sharks, the Calgary Flames versus the Edmonton Oilers. I can tell you right now, with 6:40 left in the first period, the Philadelphia Flyers are up 2-0 right now. And last I checked, the Edmonton Oilers are up 1-0 on the Calgary Flames. So it's a big opening night. And ladies and gentlemen, what we're going to do is we're going to kickstart this exclusive episode here at the Tilted Kilt in Frederick, Maryland. But when I come back from break, I will be back in the X75 production studio in Germantown, Maryland, aka my bedroom, and we're going to go over a little breakdown preview for the Washington Capitals versus the Ottawa Senators, with a little breakdown on that game afterwards as well for that. So ladies and gentlemen, when I come back from break, I will see you at the X75 production studio in Germantown, Maryland. Until then, I'll see you after the break. Looking for some pre-Thanksgiving fun? Then look no further than to DerpyCon. DerpyCon, which is taking place at the Hyatt Regency Morristown in Morristown, New Jersey from November 17th to 19th. Come see special guests like David Yost, Walter Jones, Todd Habercorn, and so many more. For more information and to purchase tickets, visit derpycon.com today. Attention hockey fans, the Experience Hockey Talk is on Patreon. Come join the exclusive TXHT community today for access to exclusive episodes, interviews, and so much more. You can join the TXHT Patreon community at patreon.com/TXHT_hockey. Exclusive Patreon episode. This will actually be the last segment. We aren't going to preview the Caps game that's going to happen tonight, because on Saturday we are going to be breaking down that game fully. And then on Saturday we will be at the home opener. That will be next week's exclusive episode. All the content that we will be recording at the Capitals home opener this Saturday. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to recap the opening day for the NHL, which took place yesterday. As you know, we already talked about the Pittsburgh Penguins and the St. Louis Blues. Blues obviously surviving a Penguins rally in the third period to win in overtime, 5-4, and it was also the Pittsburgh Penguins banner-raising night. So if you're not a Penguins fan, which is pretty much almost everyone who doesn't like Pittsburgh, you know, this is always a very beautiful sight to see the Pittsburgh Penguins lose on their banner night. We're going to take a look at the Maple Leafs real quick. Maple Leafs scored 7 goals to win against the Winnipeg Jets in their season opener. Patrick Marleau scored 2 goals in his debut for the Toronto Maple Leafs in what was a 7-2 win. Marleau, who had spent the past 19 seasons with the San Jose Sharks before signing with the Maple Leafs, scored his 509th and 510th NHL goals. Great plays by Austin Matthews to get the puck to Patrick Marleau. And then Nazem Kadri, William Nylander, and Mitch Marner also scored, and Matthews and Van Riemsdyk each had 1 goal and 2 assists for Toronto as well. And Frederick Anderson made 35 saves, 17 in the first period. Mark Scheifele and Matthew Perreault would score for the Jets. Steve Mason, making his debut for the Winnipeg Jets, allowed 5 goals on 20 shots and was pulled for Connor Hellebuyck. At 36 seconds into the third period, Hellebuyck made 9 saves in that game for Winnipeg. Moving on to our next game, which was the Edmonton Oilers versus the Calgary Flames, and Connor McDavid would score a hat trick to lift the Edmonton Oilers to a 3-0 win against the Calgary Flames in the season opener at Rogers Place Arena. And yeah, that's all really can be said about that. Cam Talbot pitched the shutout for the Edmonton Oilers against the Calgary Flames. And then going into Philadelphia last night, I mentioned before I got off, they were up 2-0. Well, when I got home, it was 2-2. But it would be Wayne Simmons getting a hat trick and the Flyers win against the San Jose Sharks in San Jose. Wayne Simmons scored 3 goals, 2 of them with the man advantage, including the game winner at 9:27 of the third period. Claude Giroux and Jordan Weal would also score for the Flyers. Shane Gostisbehere and Jacob Voracek each had 3 assists, and Brian Elliott made 32 saves in his Philadelphia debut. Kevin LeBlanc scored 2 goals in the first period for the Sharks, and Logan Couture scored in the third. And interesting thing, Kevin LeBlanc, who scored the 2 goals for the San Jose Sharks, was in the penalty box for all 3 Philadelphia power play goals. So that definitely comes in to bite Kevin LeBlanc in the butt, knowing that, hey, you scored 2 goals, but 3 of the goals were because you were in the penalty box at that time. So, very interesting note right there. And then, ladies and gentlemen, it became official yesterday. Jaromir Jagr signs a 1-year, $1 million contract with the Calgary Flames. It will be his first team in Canada that he'll be playing for, second team in the Western Conference. And Jagr did not play last night in the Calgary Flames opener in Edmonton. And there's no confirmation at this time he will be in the lineup for the Calgary home opener against Winnipeg on Saturday. So we have to wait and see if Jagr will be in the lineup this Saturday. And then one of the biggest things that come out, if I can get to it, if it allows me to get to it. Well, first off, Nikolai Ehlers showed that he was more than happy to commit his long-term future to the Winnipeg Jets by agreeing to his 7-year, $42 million contract yesterday. The contract has an average annual value of $6 million and takes effect next season. Ehlers, who's 21, would have been restricted at the end of this season. And the other big contract, which is from the other day, which was Jack Eichel agreeing to a 8-year, $80 million contract extension with the Sabres. Jack Eichel agreed to an 8-year, $80 million extension with the Buffalo Sabres. It was an average value of $10 million a season. The 20-year-old center could have become a restricted free agent after this season. And on July 1st, he became eligible to sign his extension. So that's big things right there. And also, something to keep an eye on is that obviously one of the new rules is that, or not really rules, but a rule that is being enforced is slashing. Last night, it was a clear evidence that Sidney Crosby slashed Alex Pietrangelo in the back of the legs. It'll be very interesting to see if there will be any conversations being had with Sidney Crosby in regards to his slash, especially the fact that the biggest reason why the slashing is now more in the forefront is because Sidney Crosby slashed off a piece of Mark Mathot's finger. So it'll be very interesting to see how that plays out. One would hope that maybe a fine would come into play because that type of stuff is what they're trying to get out of the game. So it would be nice. And if y'all bear with me for a moment, I'm going to try to pull something off real quick. If it lets me. And I don't think it's going to let me. So we're going to do this. And so, as everyone knows, we do have the Yahoo TXHT Fantasy Hockey League. I'm trying to hop into it right now so I can give everyone... Oh, leaves Leo Komarov, gets penalty for visor violation. That is a new rule. They did fix in the rules that all players must have the visors like right here covering the eyes. You cannot have it like propped up here like Leo Komarov has always done. So that, I'm actually not surprised by that. But that happened because, see if I remember my password, the Yahoo on here. Hey, I remembered. So let's pull that up real quick. I have enough apps on this thing, thank you very much. And You gotta love Puck Daddy. Obviously, Greg Zlozinski is not there anymore, which is very depressing because I love his work. But I know he's on to bigger and better things. It didn't take long for the referees to steal the spotlight on the NHL's opening night. After drawing criticism from players and fans alike for their whistle-happy ways during the preseason, the officials made an early statement in the Toronto-Winnipeg game on Wednesday. Maple Leafs forward Leo Komarov was penalized for having his visor tilted too high 6 minutes into the first period. The pesky forward pleaded his case, as did coach Mike Babcock, but to no avail. NHL player safety is making an increased emphasis this season to enforce rules relating to player safety, including visors, which was grandfathered into the league in 2012-13. According to Rule 9.7, visors are to be affixed to the helmets in such a fashion to ensure adequate eye protection. Komarov, who has always worn his visor above his eyes, was also warned about it during the preseason and opted to remove it instead of wearing it lower. Which, he can't do because he came into the league after the thing, so the people who are grandfathered in were the people who had already played X amount of games in the league. And in some quotes, the ref told me they changed some rules to keep it down. Komarov told reporters, "I don't see through it. That's the reason I'm wearing it up there." So it's not like I'm being cocky or anything. It's how I play forever. So I took it off, but I don't feel safe without it. So we'll see what's going to happen. Along with enforcing visor regulations, they also made it a priority to crack down on slashes to players' hands, along with face-off violations, which also includes Sidney Crosby's slash to the back of the legs, which is something that the league wants to get out of the game too. So, all right, give me back the Yahoo. There we go. Okay, let's try this. Welcome to how we do things on here. There we go. Hopefully this takes me to... Hey, there we go, fantasy. And let's just be realistic here. It's only day one that we went through on fantasy hockey. So we're obviously not going to make a massive emphasis out of this, because it's only been one day. But, no. Damn. Fine. Wants me to install the app, so everyone's now watching me installing the app. There you go. That's a good angle. See, I'm installing the app because they won't let me do our fantasy update unless I have the app updated. Thanks, Yahoo. Jerks. And well, this, and obviously I don't have anybody working with on this one. I will be having people on future stuff. I might have people at the home opener with me to go over stuff. I could have, I definitely have Dan Rice coming up the week of the 22nd. We will be doing the NHL or NWHL preview. I'm working on trying to get somebody to do minor league hockey with me, so that we can cover minor league hockey here on the show. Like, they give it the full thing that it needs. Will you finish installing, please? I swear these things hate me. But while that's installing, so I can give you our day one fantasy hockey update, which I can tell you right now, I'm beating Dixon 8-1. Oh, look. That's me. Oh, there we go. Now, I'm going to go to all matchups. Now, to start off thus far, Russell from Full Tilt New York Rangers blog is losing to Michael at Novacaps 8-0. Let's see here. Yesterday, Michael's team, Michael's neat team as he called it, had 5 goals, 4 assists, a +5, 3 power play points, 25 shots on goal, a win, and a 3.922 goals against average and a .879 save percentage, which is all the stuff that is giving him the 8-0 lead over Russell. Russell currently has 0 goals, 1 assist, no plus-minus, he's even, no power play points, no shorthanded points, 1 shot on goal. He has 5 goals against, a 4.90 goals against average, .853 save percentage. So Russell's team is not looking so hot right now. And then you have Shaggy versus Marco. This is Marco's first time ever doing fantasy hockey. He doesn't know hockey, so we're going to give him the benefit of the doubt. But right now, the Bullet Club, which is Shaggy, is beating up Team Destino, which is Marco, 7-2. And this is actually an interesting one. Marco has 1 goal and 12 shots on goal. Those are his 2 points. Shaggy has 3 assists, a -3, 6 penalty minutes, a win, a 2.00 goals against average, and a .946 save percentage after 1 day. So, and then we got Brendan Shuck and Sean Fate, Team Glorious versus Sticks Out for Harambe. Sean's Team Glorious is beating Brendan Sticks Out for Harambe 6-4. So they actually have a very competitive matchup. The only advantage that Sean has on him right now is the fact that he has had goaltenders play compared to Brendan not having any goalies play yet. And then in the big matchup, Team TXHT versus Valor Club, which is Dixon, I am leading with 7 goals to 2, 6 assists to 4, a +8 to +3. We are both tied with 4 penalty minutes. He actually has 4 power play points, whereas I have 3. We both have no shorthanded points, and I'm out shooting him at 25-5. For goaltenders, he does not have a goaltender play yet, but I have a win, 0 goals against, 0 goals against average, 26 shots for 26 saves, a 1,000 save percentage, and 1 shutout. Thank you, Cam Talbot. And that's because, and I'm leading Dixon 8-1. Yesterday, just in a player breakdown for Team TXHT, Austin Matthews had a goal and an assist, and a +2 and 1 shot on goal. Leon Draisaitl had 2 assists with a +3 and 5 shots on goal. Mitch Marner had a goal and an assist with a power play point, 2 shots on goal. Nazem Kadri had a goal and an assist with a +2, 2 penalty minutes, a power play point, and 4 shots on goal. On defense, this is where my bread and butter was for me yesterday, to be honest. Alex Pietrangelo had 2 goals, was a +1, had 2 penalty minutes, and 8 shots on goal. Justin Schultz had a goal, a +1, and 4 shots on goal. And Colton Parayko had a goal, was a -1, and had 1 power play point and 1 shot on goal. And of course, Cam Talbot won the game, got the shutout. I'm okay with that. Looking at today's lineup for Team TXHT, I got Mike Hoffman for Ottawa, Ricard Raquel for Anaheim, Dylan Larkin for Detroit, Andre Burakovsky for Ottawa, Victor Arvidsson for Boston, Drew Doughty for Philadelphia, Justin Schultz for Pittsburgh, because they're doing it back-to-back, and Oliver Ekman-Larsson for Arizona. And in net, I will have Pekka Rinne and Devin Dubnyk. So lots of good things going on. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to this episode of The Experience, the first ever Patreon exclusive episode. I want to do a special shout out to Paul Turner and Caitlin over at the Tilted Kilt in Frederick, Maryland, for allowing me to film our first segment there. And we do plan on being back, and we do plan on doing a more full episode at the Tilted Kilt in Frederick, Maryland for our Patreon exclusive episodes. Just give it time. We're still trying to build things up. I actually had to build things up just for the regular show to make sure that we got all the spots filled for this upcoming week. And I can't confirm that this Saturday on the main show we will have Rick Davis from the CSA show. Yes, that same CSA show that we keep promoting. That you can win 2 weekend passes by emailing Donald at blake4av@aol.com. That's Blake, the number 4av@aol.com. You can win 2 weekend passes. They'll have like 3 actors from the Mighty Ducks movies, Alex Ovechkin, 4 Hockey Hall of Famers. So definitely a lot going on with that. And we'll be talking to him about CSA, the hockey guys that'll be there and all that stuff. And also, if you like what we do, if you like the show, if you like the main show, give this some time. This is going to get better. Tell your friends, patreon.com/TXHT_hockey, the Experience Hockey Talk, serious hockey talk for serious hockey fans. This is my passion. I love doing it. And if I can create more content for all of you, I will gladly do it, especially when you guys love it. So, with that, until next time, I will see you on the ice. Looking for some pre-Thanksgiving fun? Then look no further than to DerpyCon. DerpyCon, which is taking place at the Hyatt Regency Morristown in Morristown, New Jersey from November 17th to 19th. Come see special guests like David Yost, Walter Jones, Todd Havercorn, and so many more. For more information and to purchase tickets, visit derpycon.com today. Attention hockey fans, the Experience Hockey Talk is on Patreon. Come join the exclusive TXHT community today for access to exclusive episodes, interviews, and so much more. You can join the TXHT Patreon community at patreon.com/TXHT_hockey.
Approaching faster, just take my